Thank you for killing music. We're going to go ahead and get started in 1 or 2 minutes. You don't have to rush, but we'll get started here in just a second. What's that? Oh, yes, I would like to say, per CDC and ACS policy, if you're outside and you're vaccinated, no need to wear masks. Of course, if you're more comfortable wearing a mask, continue to do so. It's your choice. Great. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out here today to join us for this really very special day when we're going to honor and celebrate Larry for his many years of service at ACS. But before we get started, I just want to take a minute to, first of all, acknowledge just how wonderful it is that after this last year, 14, 15 months, we're all able to gather together and have a kind of a normal event, and just it is really wonderful. I would also like to take a minute to just thank all the ACS teachers and staff for everything you have done over the last year. This has been a very trying, difficult year for all of us, and through it all, ACS staff, you have been models of resilience, ingenuity, professionalism, everything that you have done to get our children through this year, to prevent our children from having a lost academic year. It's just been remarkable. And so, yes, so thank you to ACS staff for really everything you've done. It has been amazing. As a parent, and I have many parents come up to me all the time, and they have just been effusive in their praise for what ACS has done over this last year, and the fact that you did it on the fly. None of us have ever been through a situation like this, unless you're well over 100 years old, and you can remember Spanish flu. It's just remarkable what ACS has done, and so one of the main reasons ACS has been able to do this and to handle this this horrible pandemic so well is because of the leadership of Larry. Yes, we can clap for that. ACS is a remarkable institution, and Larry, you've been just a tremendous captain of this ship through some very, very stormy seas. So thank you for that. I could not have asked for a better partner as the president of the school board during this time. Your leadership has just been tremendous, and so thank you on behalf of all the parents. Thank you. But this day is about much more than just Larry's stewardship of the school during the pandemic. It's about everything you've done here. But I've only really worked with you during the pandemic. So at this point, as we're going to talk about Larry's much broader tenure and why he's so deserving of this award today. So I'm going to turn to the longest serving member of the school board, Gigi, who's going to say a few more words. Thank you so much.
So the fact that you're present here today means that you have heard the rumor that Larry loves to build things. He will deny it repeatedly, but really, who are you kidding? Deep down, we all suspect he's obsessed with building. Just look around you. What you see is a testament to the fact that he must thrive on the stress of dealing with construction, pressure that is undoubtedly quadrupled in Amman, with the challenges of a never-ending stream of surprises, U-turns, ignored timelines, Ramadan, a pandemic of all things, and that our school mission is not read every morning before excavation begins. Some of us here today, possibly most of us, were privileged enough to witness the birth of this crazy idea that somehow, despite all the challenges, made it from David Thornburg's textbook vision of what 21st century schools must look like to a live space that epitomizes rethinking the very notion of learning environments, so that they truly encompass more than the actual physical space, including the social, emotional, and academic components that are also environments. I thought this was a crazy dream because, like many of us, I grew up in a school culture that didn't look, feel, or behave like ACS. Educators may have dreamed about such concepts, but they seldom made it beyond policy papers and boardroom strategies. And so they settled with mediocrity, stagnation, and a stubborn insistence on holding on to the past and how things are always done. Which brings to mind this quote by George Bernard Shaw: "Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything." Thanks to Larry's skill, scientist skill, and mindset, he showed us that these ideas are just beyond dreams and aspirations. All you need is curiosity, an open mind, and a stubborn commitment to values, not custom. I know one of Larry's core values is collaboration. I don't think I ever thought of this word before I met him. Now I think about it every day of my life, in my work and in my interactions with my children. It jumps out at me every time I witness a success story. I see it so beautifully demonstrated and fully lived out in my girls, who had the fortune to learn to become who they are right here in this space. I hear it in the achievements of your children, and I am encouraged by the hope it promises every time I walk into the Learning Commons. In the campfire spaces, our learners, and by that I mean every member of our community, educators, students, and board members, gather to learn from an expert, sometimes a young student with a great idea. In the colorful caves, so clearly obvious in the elementary and middle learning commons, students enjoy a private space where an individual can think, reflect, and process learning from knowledge to belief and ultimately practice. My personal favorites are the watering hole spaces, where peers can share information and discoveries, acting as both learner and teacher simultaneously. Back in the day when students were on campus, you walk through the learning commons during the day and you see the space literally buzzing with life. The kind of life that is an incubator for ideas that lead to innovation and a shared sense of community. In other words, a collaborative culture built on respect, integrity, and global understanding. I'll never forget the day I invited board members of a national school in Amman to walk through our learning commons. The look on their faces was priceless. But what truly inspired me was the excitement and drive that filled their hearts and charged their wills. They saw that dreams can be achieved, that what they felt in their guts to be truth should not be ignored, that change was possible, and that hope was achievable. It only takes one person to do it, and all of a sudden it becomes possible for everyone. This is true legacy, one that grows roots far beyond what our limited capacity allows us to imagine. These roots begin to softly shake concrete walls one drop at a time until we find ourselves unbuilding blinders, borders, and silos. ACS's focus for the coming year on taking the concept and dream of global advocacy from paper to heart is a natural progression of our unbuilding that, thanks to Larry, has begun in this beautiful space of collaboration and learning. A new legacy is birthing itself as we speak. I invite you to buckle up, open your eyes and hearts, and witness with pride what is unfolding. In keeping with the theme of unlearning and unbuilding, we are today undoing customary recognition and honor by choosing to celebrate service while it remains active. Normally, we recognize change makers and legacy bearers after their service, often when they're not present to bask in the glory. What we have learned or unlearned working with Larry all these years is that we can revisit old beliefs, question how it's always been done, and act in a way that makes sense and serves our beloved community. By choosing to honor Larry today, while he still serves our community with passion, drive, occasional patience, we remind him and ourselves that courage, hard work, commitment, and fierce adherence to our values not only matter, but are appreciated and valued. Thank you, Mac, for teaching me while you learn. Thank you for trusting your heart, seeing the vision, and finding the courage to follow through on those dreams that often stay in drawers and media headlines, but somehow never make it into a classroom or a student's mind. The truth is, Larry does love to build, but it's not the brick and mortar type. He builds lifelong learners. He builds hope that the future before us promises a world of compassionate, curious, kind humans who will heal our planet. And it all begins in that buzzing learning space we're proud to name the Larry McIlvain Learning Commons. Larry unbuilds walls. He encourages everyone who's had the privilege to work with him to unlearn, rethink, and question. He has so beautifully demonstrated how love of reading is so much more than a stack of books displayed on shelves. Reading goes far beyond the book, into our interactions and relationships, into our skill to listen to one another in order to understand, into respectful conversations that nourish our growth. I've always believed leadership is earned, and you have truly earned it. Thank you.
So these are renderings. They're still doing the actual physical work in the atrium. But as I'm looking at the renderings, I'm looking at like, wow, the carpet is dirty as you walk into the learning commons, and like, there's a dead palm tree in the atrium space. So yes, Tal, I'll just let it go. Hello, friends, colleagues, and family on live stream. I am eternally grateful and extremely humbled by the gesture of the Board of Trustees to recognize my work in such a way. I truly love my work and have so valued the passionate, dedicated, collaborative, creative, and committed educators I have worked with over the last 12 years. Thank you. While planning, creating, and building facilities is only part of my work, I have come to appreciate that buildings can truly serve as the third teacher. Well-designed and aesthetically rich environments allow students to explore, experiment, engage, and collaborate together. The environment acts as a participant in the educational experience. During my time here, we have tried to think deeply about how the spaces we build will impact student learning and the student experience. And Gigi, it's not just to build for building's sake, that I want to tear something down and rebuild it. I have seen the power of space firsthand through the construction of the Learning Commons. It has truly changed the way students interact and engage. The Learning Common has become the heart of the school, the place students congregate and hang out and learn. This is why the naming of this space is such an honor. Of course, such work does not happen in isolation, and the Learning Commons space is not my brainchild or actually even my own idea. There are many others involved in the making of this space. Much of the thinking comes from David Thornburg, a British educational futurist who describes 4 learning spaces: cave spaces, watering hole spaces, campfire spaces, and real-life learning spaces. I first learned about David Thornburg and these spaces from Jess Levitt, who I was interviewing for a job to take on the role of the librarian. Her ideas so intrigued me, and they made so much sense, that we hired Jess, and she began redesigning what was once 6 classrooms, which had once been 6 classrooms, was the current library. I want to thank Jess, if she's watching, for the partnership in the creation of this space, because it was hours and hours of cutting things out of IKEA magazines and what would look good and what would it look like, and trying to envision a space with the walls currently in it and what it would look like without those walls. I also want to thank Omar Zain, who's with us today in the back. He is what I call our summer architect. He provided lots of logistic and design support as we tore out the walls. We added 8 new windows into the space to make sure the space was bright and colorful, and he helped us redo all the infrastructure work. I want to thank Dad Musa. I don't know if she's here today, but she was our contract interior designer who enthusiastically took our rough ideas and made them come to life in renderings, and then actually into real time. There were hours and hours of back and forth conversations as we navigated the final product. Thank you, Dad. I want to thank Hamdi in the back, who has served as both on-site coordinator and financier. Many times I would come back and say, Hamdi, we need to find a little bit more money to do something a little bit nicer. As the business manager, one would think it was all about just numbers and ledgers, but Hamdi has a really nice eye for something that looks nice. And so it was awesome being a partner with Hamdi as a business manager, but also a quasi and maybe wanted to be designer. like I am. So much of the success of this space goes to the teachers, the ACS teachers, who saw all of the possibilities of this space and found so many creative ways to use the space with their students. Thank you, ACS teachers. None of this kind of work happens without a focused, forward-thinking, and strategic board of trustees. I have been fortunate to have worked with such a board during most of my time at ACS. Thank you, Board of Trustees. And last, but surely not least, the support and encouragement of Tala has been crucial. The ideas of a learning commons space and the primordial spaces of learning was a constant part of our conversation for a long time. She always smiled, she always listened attentively, and always made me feel like I thought she cared. She also asked pointed questions about, well, how will kids use it and what it will look like, which also informed part of our decision making. So, current Board of Trustees, thank you for the acknowledgement of the work. I am so grateful and so appreciative, and there probably isn't a better space that I would thank you for naming in my honor, I guess. So, with that, thank you.
At this point, I would like to invite Larry and Tala and the members of the Board of Trustees that are here to come up for a photo. And then we will, this event will be over and we can all enjoy a reception. So please, come on up. Gigi, Stacy, anybody else? Anybody else for a photo? With that, the formal program is over. So thank you so much for coming, and please enjoy a refreshment. Thank you so much.